You guys, here's another trade review. Today is 5/23. Um, and yeah, today was definitely an interesting day. Took 5 trades, so definitely over traded. But my first 2 trades, I was really disappointed. Ended up walking away for a little bit, working out. Um, just because I don't know, I've just been kind of frustrated with my performance lately because I feel like all of April and then like end of March, all of April, and then like half of May, I felt like boom, every entry was on point, like everything was great. I was taking like super good trades. Um, and then I don't know, randomly, I felt like they've just been a bit off where I was more just like forcing trades and um just not like performing as well as I was. So I was just I don't know. But today I was getting frustrated because I was just like, which I know the reason why. I think it's just mostly because I um am kind of just like forcing, and that's always kind of been like a problem for me where I'll just like try to force a setup, uh, but not really like I know that it's not good, but I'll still just try to like justify it to like win. And then for a while, I just kind of like only focused on like the lead test 80% and like 40% entry and like the buy the dip. And I just like knew the strategy, so like I would just like sit there and like not care about taking a trade. I'd be like, whatever, I'm not doing this. I'll like wait for the setup. But then recently, I've just been kind of like rushing things. And like today is a good example, and I'll show you why within this first trade. But I'll go through and kind of explain what I was seeing here on SPY. So here in the morning, as you see, Leland ended up like marking out this 50% retracement. We ended up pushing up to it, but we ended up just like chopping. We never, we kind of created a higher high, higher low here. But I mean, yeah, just kind of like chopped within this range. I know some people caught puts on this little flush down here, but again, on the way down, it was like pretty low volume for the push that we had, and then we just wicked back up like on the 5 minute. So what I ended up doing is I just ended up going out into the higher time frames here. I just want to show the wick. But I ended up going out on the 30 minute, and as you can see, price action is beautiful. Um, and I don't know, I don't know why I was really rushing this because looking back, it's just like, well, first off, what I could have marked here on the higher time frames is I could go to the 10 minute and mark this like triangle here, which is actually what I wanted to like see. And then this breakdown, pretty good volume here. Um, with like an inverse hammer, that's actually a really good area to enter. But I can kind of draw this as a little zone. But we had low of day, and then we're also at the 417 level. And uh, what I really wanted to see this morning, and I even put it in like charts by members, is I wanted to see us like come down a little bit, get like a nice pullback, and then like flush the zone down to here. So that was just like stuck in my head. But then we also had the control point above us. So I don't know why I didn't just think like, oh, okay, well, it's either we break pre-market low, like this is what I would say. Okay, either we break pre-market low or we end up breaking this high, and then I just set my alerts, and then I'm just like, okay, let's see what we do. And like even if we miss this entry here, I could have even just drawn this, and then we got a lead test right after. But instead of just being patient like I actually should, I just started looking at other charts because I'm just like, for me, the only reason I actually have these other charts here is just to see how the market is performing. I only really like to trade Apple and SPY. Like 99.9% of my trades are Apple and SPY, but today I decided to just hop on Tesla and I went out to the higher time frames, just looking, seeing how we're doing. We broke pre-market high, everything like that. This first 30-minute candle is kind of crazy, and then I see that we got this second 30-minute candle here that is holding the oh well shoot, it's definitely not holding. Actually, I was thinking just like 3 bar play, If we also go down to, I think it was the 15 minute, we also got this 3 bar play. Me, I don't really just like to trade the 3 bar like as it is. I like actually looking at the wedge and stuff. So I just went down onto the 5 minute and I drew out our little triangle here, and I actually entered on this breakout. Look at rising volume, everything like that. I actually don't even have my EMA on here for some reason. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. But and you see we're holding the 9. If we go, of course, above the or to the 10 minute, we're holding the 10 and we're actually pulling back here. So I'm like, okay, this looks really good. And I'm actually not even disappointed with this trade. Because like I said, holding 9, holding the 10, broke pre-market high. We're obviously very bullish. Holding this like 50% level in between these two BB levels from these emerging candles. And I enter on this breakout. We come down, we get a little retest. Volume only starts to step in. Once we come back down and touch it, stop loss right back down if we break and close back into our wedge here. And I actually only bought in with one contract. So what you want to do is you want to aim for your first target. So I'm like, okay, well, my first target, of course, is going to be the next dollar amount. And we we literally like just touched it. And I don't usually wait until we touch it. I wait like until we're like 4 to like 7 cents away, and I'll usually just take the contract off. But you see, we get this break, we get this retest, we push up, and since I only had one contract, I should have just taken it off here, but again, I was just being greedy, just trying to be like, oh, I want to make a percentage on my account. Maybe I can get it to like 194 or something. And we come back down, and I end up getting stopped out. So I was just kind of like really disappointed because I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Like, why would I, not take my profit? And if we go onto my Apple trades, which you guys will see later, but at the first take profit, I already take off a majority of my contracts. I also even just watched like the entire 2.5 hour video that Bueller posted. And when he's trading with one contract, he always just takes it off at his first target. Um, so my greed just got to me and it got me stopped out. And it was basically break even because I got in on, I think it was like this 1 minute candle, and I got out on, I think it was this candle here. So it's like, I mean, it's not like a big loss or anything, but it's still just like, man, I could have just taken my 20% here and, called it good, been up, $50 or whatever, but ended up just having a small loss. Alright guys, so for this next trade here, it was actually on Tesla again, and this is where my emotions started to get a hold of me. I ended up, taking a re-entry because I'm like, okay, I just got stopped out, and I realized that we're kind of within this sort of like trend zone, and we're actually pulling back to the golden pocket. So I'm like, okay, well, we could get this break, this retest. Let me just look for some confirmation on the lower time frame. We're bouncing off this trend line. As you see, we come down, we make a high volume hammer. We pull back down. We then make a higher low with another high volume hammer, and we end up pushing up a bit, about halfway into the zone. And now I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to aim for high of day, and I'm going to be good on this trade. And then we ended up just, pulling back and getting stopped out. Do I think that this trade was bad? No, I don't. I don't really think that it was that bad of a trade. Again, look at pulling back to the 5. Again, pulling back, and as you see on this 10-minute candle, we kind of get this hammer. I mean, the one thing that I probably should have been looking out for is just, volume on the higher time frames, how we were looking, how this volume is actually decreasing, and this is a common trend that I actually find in my losers is I just don't really look for higher time frame confirmation. And again, you'll see in my Apple trades later that everything lined up perfectly, and I ended up taking 3 winning trades in a row. But here too, I actually ended up like talking to Leland, and he gave me some like tips on like back testing and like kind of the structure he used, and even sent me, some documents of uh his examples and what he would do when he used to back test a lot. So I went through about last night, got like 10 examples. It took me like about an hour because I was like really reading the price action going on multiple time frames, which I don't have the screenshots from the multiple time frames here, but for like the lead test is what I'm gonna go through the past 100 days and look for and see the correlations and everything. Um, on the lead test, what I found is every single winning trade. Let's say you're playing a lead test at a downside or an 80% entry paired with like the golden pocket to the downside. Every single winning trade, we're under the 9 EMA 5 minute or the 10 minute, or if let me try to find it. Like this trade here, this by the dip slash like lead test, you see we come down, we're making lower lows, lower highs, we pop up, make a higher low, pop up, make a higher high here, retrace here, pull up. On the 5 minute, actually, we ended up breaking the 5 and the 10-minute EMA and pulling back, retesting it on those time frames too, having volume confirmation. So that's one thing that I've kind of been, or that I've like started to realize is, uh, I'll just only focus on the 1 minute, and we may have a signal on the 1 minute, but is it going to be as strong of a signal as if we have proper confirmation over or under a 9 EMA, or if we have, like what if we had, here, let me go back to the 10-minute. What if we had rising volume here on the 10-minute all the way to the top here? And then, here, let me go to the 15. Like lowering volume here, then on this pullback, volume is lowering, which is pretty good, but again, on, where we wick up, it's really, like, nothing is really stepping through. Um, and then too, like it's not even like I said, the setup is horrible. I could have had better confirmation on the higher time frames, but at the same time, like I should have just been sticking to SPY and Apple. I shouldn't have, switched over to a different ticker to try to trade it. I should have just stuck with my plan, again breaking those rules. And then, this isn't a trade I should have just got right into after a loser to try to, win that back to make myself feel better, because, I end up getting stopped out and it just made me feel worse. And then after this trade is where I actually walked away and went to like work out to like clear my mind, because I realized I'm just kind of forcing stuff and it's not going well. But let me get into these 3 Apple trades that I ended up taking, and I won on all of them. Go through, explain it, and I'll show you how they really pair up with all of these lead tests here that I took, and what I'm gonna, kind of set as a rule in my trading going forward to kind of guarantee that I have a higher win percentage. Alright guys, so before I get into the actual trade, which is down here, and of course I have the amount of contracts I entered with and where I exited here on the screenshot, I'm going to get into actually, the price action on Apple and what I should have done earlier, how I'm saying that I shouldn't have switched tickers, and with SPY it's very similar, we're just chopping, and one thing I should have done is zoomed out on the higher time frames just to see, and I could have noticed this flag. I noticed that um, I'm pretty sure Mel ended up catching this. He's talking about this loser that he ended up taking. But this is how I actually first noticed this here at 6 p.m. Or it's at 6 p.m. now. It's like 9 o'clock. But, I could have noticed, oh, we're in this triangle, and then waited for a breakdown on a higher time frame, maybe a 40% entry, or even just been like, okay, this is looking bearish, and then waited for this lead test on, or like a pullback to the pre-market low, like I always like to do. Um, but instead, I was just watching on a lower time frame in this range, and even Noxta was saying too that he has no idea what's going on and he's confused, and I'm like, yeah, I am same. And then I forgot who said it, but they said just like when in doubt, zoom out. And I went out to just like the 30-minute. I was like, screw this. So instead of just like setting my alerts, being like, okay, it's either we break above here, we break above this pre-market high, or we break back down below the pre-market lows and, actually wait for this proper confirmation. I just ended up, walking away, and then same here on Apple. I did actually end up towards the end here setting 2 alerts because, again, here on Apple, we're just sitting here chopping within this range. As you can kind of see, we actually kind of, oh no, it's not really a flag actually, I'm just tripping. We did kind of have this sort of trend line hold in the break on rising volume though. Uh, but one of my alerts went off right after I got done working out, and we came down here and we got our 40% entry. You know, we're at low of day, we're at pre-market low. We break out here on rising volume, and you know, this candle had very, very high volume. The only other candle that had, of course, like besides the morning with all that indecision, but as you can see, compared to around like the past like 30 minutes to an hour, we had a lot of volume. And the only volume like, or the only candles really competing with it are these candles on the breakdown here. But besides that, you know, we obviously have a clear direction, uh, and not just this chop anymore. But yeah, get in here, and as we see, it's with three 3-day till expiration contracts with a 0.46 fill. Of course, I learned from the Tesla trade. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take off most of my contracts here at the first price target. We come down here on rising volume, and then I was just gonna take off my last contract here. But you know, we end up hitting, take off two contracts for zero point 0.6. So that is a $14 gain for those two contracts there. And then I moved my stop to break even, which is a rule that I've actually been following pretty well. And we broke down, oh no, we broke down here. We didn't really get a lot of volume stepping up, ended up getting a buyer reaction. And we started pushing up, and we actually ended up hitting break even, breaking above the 9 EMA here. So I decided to get out. Alright guys, now for the second trade. Let me go out here in the higher time frames, and I can kind of show you guys what I was talking about, because these next two are just lead tests. So what I was saying about here, on from what I've back tested so far, you know, we usually get that confirmation on higher time frames where we break the 5-minute 9 EMA or the 9 EMA on the 10-minute, and you know, we have volume confirmation too, everything like that. So if we go here on the 5-minute to start off, yes, we push up and we break the 9 EMA here, but look at what volume's doing. It's lowering. So you know, is it possible that we end up, you know, pulling all the way back and recovering? Yes, like anything can happen. But at the same time, we know that, okay, this little buyer move is very weak. And we can draw the golden pocket fib from, or the fib, our fib from this previous little pullback area to our new low, and look at where we're starting to retest and push into with lowering volume on not just the 5, but also the 10-minute too. And look at what we have here. We are also right at the 9 EMA 10-minute, which if you watch Spieler's very long video, he talks about how he really likes to see a rising volume close above a recovery of the 10-minute to get real confirmation that we could be reversing, and then you can go on a lower time frame to start looking for pullbacks. But if we're pushing into it on lowering volume, then that's showing me, okay, we have a big possibility to reject, especially paired with the golden pocket here. So I go on my lower time frames and I start looking for an entry. As you see here, we end up getting crazy volume on this candle. It's not really super crazy, honestly, looking back. Oh, yeah, it actually is quite a lot. Looks like the third highest 1-minute candle volume for the day. But yeah, we ended up getting this, oh no, that's on this one. On this one, it's not as much, sorry. But we get this push down here, rising volume, and we kind of wicked up a little at the end. So I was like, all right, let me see if we get any continuation. This next candle broke below the golden pocket, so I entered here, and we actually took our profits here on this hammer. But the reason why my fill was down here is we were kind of stuck here, and then we just shot down, and then I like you know, pressed the sell, and then you know, we got pushed up like a little bit, so I didn't sell like right at the end. It was more towards like the lower third of the candle. But yeah, there we took off. Here, let me zoom this in 200% to see better. We took off 4 out of 6 of our contracts at 0.64, and we got filled at 0.53. So that's an $11 gain on 4 of those contracts. So we're up 44 bucks at this point. And then again, you move your stop to break even, and on this candle here is where I took it off. But I mean, yeah, pretty basic setup. Nice little lead test. Got our flush down of this intraday demand zone and the pre-market low. Got our pullback on lowering volume on the 5 to 10 minutes. So we have volume confirmation on those higher time frames, which gave me even more confidence, is why I entered with more contracts here too. And we also were pulling back to the 5 and the 10, and we failed to hold. And then, of course, had a very good entry on the 1 minute. Alright, so this last trade here is actually my biggest trade, but again, sorry if you guys are hearing my dogs freak out. But again, what we get is, we had our lead test here, we push down, and guess what we get? Another pullback into the golden pocket from this flush down here. Of course it would have been better to see a breakdown at this level, and this is what I kind of regret not looking at SPY, because look at, we got a perfect break, retest, turn to supply to, or demand into supply. Got the same thing here and ended up having these big moves. But I was just still focused on Apple here. I mean, I'm not disappointed with this trade whatsoever, but SPY definitely had like a better pullback around this time. But I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, same type of thing. Lowering volume on the 5, lowering volume on the 10. I'll just go on the 10 minutes to show you guys. Lowering volume on this little pop up. We go right into this golden pocket range. And where we actually ended up entering is on this bearish engulfing candle here. And of course I didn't know we were going to end up chopping here for a while, but see, we have, of course, rising volume above average volume here. So ended up getting in about there. And first target, of course, is where we took off our first 4 contracts. Here, second is low a day, third was down here. We ended up chopping for a little bit. Stop loss is if we get this break to the upside. And of course, we're going to hold the contracts if we break down to the downside. End up breaking down, getting this rising volume candle. Ended up taking our first profits. At the bottom of this candle here, that big flush one with the rising volume, took off 4 of our contracts for 0.59, and our fill was 0.54. So we made 5, 10, 20 bucks. Sorry, I don't know why that took me so long. Had a major brain fart. Anyway, ended up flushing this level, hitting our second take profit here for 0.66, which was another $12 gain. So at $32 at this point. And then our last con here ended up flushing down, hitting our third take profit, and we ended up selling it for 0.76. So we had a $22 gain. So ended up making $54 on this trade. Like I said, very happy with this trade. Basically the same as the last trade. Lowering volume confirmation and rising volume confirmation on seller side for the higher time frames. Good entry on the 1 minute. Actually stuck to the plan and didn't rush the entry. We had our breakup structure. We had our candlestick patterns. We actually had proper volume confirmation too, which is, a big thing is that I've been, forcing those trades, forcing those entries. So, definitely gonna just get a piece of paper, write down, my trade rules, my trade plan, and just stick it to my monitor or something, just so, I can actually continue to stick with it, see if we meet all signs of, confluence and confirmation. But yeah, those were the 5 trades for today. 3 losers, 2 winners. One of those could have been a winner, but still happy. We ended up like $100 in the green or something like that. But yeah, again, if you guys have any feedback for me or anything, please let me know in the comments or just DM me on Discord. And you guys have a great night.